allocate the funds, the sales tax funds.
To shut down the EDC.
This would be the last Friday to do it, yeah. Whether to call an election or not.
Councilmember questions, comments, and announcements. John?
Set it up, Matt. Thank you.
I do want to make sure, Paula, you put that under Leon Leonard.
There's a ribbon cutting, what's the date of that?
March 11th, thank you.
March 11th?
March 11th, which is a Saturday from 1 to 4, I think.
And what was the bit, I can't remember the business now.
Oh, that's the one for Blackstone, the
houses.
the lake property development. Yeah. And we got a couple more coming up, but I haven't done it yet.
First time, it's not a business, but it's a big deal, and we're gonna try to get some publicity, and
We're gonna have both houses open and ready to tour that day, and they'll have a food truck and some other.
Where's that?
Blackstone and San Calhoun.
Oh, okay, awesome, that's a good idea.
19 homes.
Okay.
Leaf property.
Just a second. Leanne, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. Yoli?
I want to thank everybody for the prayers. I know some of y'all didn't know that my dad was rushed to the hospital Sunday, I believe. Anyways, he got released this morning, or this afternoon. He's home resting. He just turned 84, and I have to tell you, this man, he had like all the nurses in his room. I don't know what he was doing, but they were all like, "Oh, he's so cute!" I was like, "What are y'all doing? Leave him alone. I don't understand." So he loved his little stay, although he didn't like the fact why he was there, but I just want to thank everybody for that. And also for the prayers for my shoulder surgery. Still bothering me, but it's getting there. So, also, I got some feedback from, not feedback, I shouldn't say feedback, but a lot of residents are texting me about things that are happening here in River Oaks, and some of the things I'm like, what are you talking about? So, Marvin, I will reach out to you just because you're my first contact, but sometimes I'll reach out to Darren or to one of y'all because I don't know, and I don't like to not know what I'm talking about. So, I just want to thank you guys for being there for me when I need it. So, that's it.
Thank you. Dan?
I'm good.
This gentleman had something that you want to come up and give your name and address again. Been a couple months since we've seen you. Hello?
Larry Ryan, Shoulder Drive. Public Works is probably the most residents' biggest interface with the city, and Public Works, I want to thank them for a couple of specifics I won't go into, but the sewer guys, garbage guys, all great, thank you. I got a question. Is there any, on the water plant, is there any publicly printed available on what's going on with that? Because I'm a little disappointed in my industry that did us bad.
If you'll reach out to Marvin tomorrow, he can give you.
Okay, will do.
Where that is.
And the Atmos contractor on Black Oak, I don't know if the lines are in pressure test, but they're just sitting there. Do we have anything official that you guys can put out of what the schedule, what the progress is?
Yes, sir. I can get that, I can get an update and get it put out.
Put a notice on the website or something?
On the website.
It's weird that, okay, there's a flurry of activity and now they're just sitting there with holes in the ground. So, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now it's my turn. In my opinion, and I very much respect Darren, I very much respect everybody that's on that board, I do believe that EDC is an unnecessary bureaucracy. That in and of itself is not a detriment to it, but that is what it involves, is an extra layer of bureaucracy on our city. It restricts funds that could otherwise be spent on public safety and infrastructure. Be that as it may, we have tried in good faith to make it work over the past year. Seemingly every step of the way, when we identify ways for EDC to help cover normal costs that other EDCs assist with, we get pushback from the board. I appreciate and respect, again, everyone on that board, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to the residents of this town that's greater than allowing one board to stockpile cash and then dictate how eligible funds will be spent. When I spoke at EDC during budget, a statement was made to the effect that EDC had done a great job saving the money. Again, I respect that work, but the primary driver to our sales tax increasing was the Wayfair decision from the court 3 years ago that impacted what jurisdiction gets the revenue from online sales. It was not a comprehensive plan or strategy to grow our tax base. To its credit, EDC has moved away from expensive consultants that didn't always produce what they were promising, and in one instance drained us of nearly $100,000 in a 2-year span with nothing of value to show for it. But not wasting money that was previously being wasted is not the same thing as saving money. There's a difference between saving money and not spending money. Saving money is an action that involves a plan, a goal, and sacrificing. Not spending money involves simply not acting, not doing anything with money. It's passive rather than active and strategic. It's the opposite of strategic. To be fair, EDC has made some strong contributions, and those should be mentioned. The Quick Trip and Grumps deals in particular, but also Italianos and Niche. But every single one of those deals could have been made through council entering into common 380 agreements without including an EDC board. I will, at this point, say, as I will always say until I'm blue in the face, credit to EDC for hearing that and going along with giving incentives. Darren specifically brought them in. He did not bring them in as, it's not like we had a formal EDC function that brought them in. Darren found them, Darren did all the legwork and getting them.
You're talking about Grumps only there.
Grumps, yeah, it's not QT, and getting them to market. I am the one who suggested EDC reimbursing the city more often during last year's budget. That is commonly done in broad strokes, as Steve mentioned tonight, as far as transfers to cover a percentage of a city manager's pay, a lump sum to offset a community center or park. Now we have EDC reimbursing Public Works for putting banners up, but disagreeing with the bill and considering going to a third party next time. We have one arm of our government taking the time to build another arm of our government and then squabbling back and forth. This is government efficiency at its finest. I think it's fair to say, without getting too political, that the members of this council taken as a whole skew conservative. And I feel safe to say that some of us are staunch conservatives. And yet there's a strong defense of this bureaucracy existing, more hoops to jump through and permissions to seek, of restricting funds that can legally go to the general fund to pay police officers, firefighters, to fix streets, of siloing, of gatekeeping, a defense of taxing people just so we can put money away for some ambiguous time in the future when we might use it. We drill staff during budget and on any budget amendment regarding how far in the red we are and how we need more days in reserves, and then we allow these funds to be restricted. And some council members seem proud to tell the city no or place further restrictions on the use of funds. How is that better than Austin? What's the state's rainy day fund up to? $30 billion? They preach property tax relief and they sit on a pile of cash that grows every year. We're doing the same thing. While some may argue that EDC funds weren't intended to pay some of these costs, even though they certainly were under state law, I would argue that it's a massive abuse of our taxing authority to tax people only to fill a war chest when we have other pressing issues. And property tax relief is our job too. We decry higher taxes amongst us, and yet we restrict funds that would let us as local stewards of public dollars offset or even lower taxes some years. It's far easier to point a finger at the state or federal governments while ignoring that we're doing the exact same thing. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's really a credit to Marvin that he's done as well as he has with his budgets, and little to no support at times from EDC to general fund that would be typical and even critical for a city our size. We send him to fight with one hand tied behind his back. We've tried to make it work, but it is clear to me that it won't. That is not a shot at Darren, that is not a shot at anybody on that board. Remember the 9 most terrifying words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help it. We have layers of bureaucracy, hours of redundant meetings, and meeting prep time for staff, and funds that can't go where they need to go. God forbid something tragic happens and us being short-staffed in PD makes the difference in a life or death situation, because that's the exact position we put this department in, running 2 or 3 short for well over a year. It makes far more sense to eliminate the corporation and reallocate that half cent to add its current reserves to the general fund and to do it immediately as soon as possible. To be clear, this is not saying that economic development would be any less important, and the council could always budget hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to go toward that end, while freeing up the rest of the money to reliably provide a budget in the black and consistently paying our employees competitive wages. With that said, I'll see everybody at 6 o'clock on Friday. We're adjourned.